Well, sweet Kaydee-Boo. Hey girl, how be you? You know, it's funny, I forgot last weekend when I'm all tell me what to do. It's kind of hard to, um, you know, love and adore the most unique and special girl in the world if you're driving over the road. It's just my default mode, you know. Um, Plus, I'm like a dumb sheep, you know what I mean? You turn me in one direction and I just, blah, turn around, you know. Sometimes you know, I yearn and I want and I need and I desire you in my life. And then I remember, but wait, you're just a troll. You don't do shit like that. And this is all complete and utter fucking bullshit. So, but you're going to convince me that there is a better way. But the insurance requires 5 years since, you know, the deal. The ticket was actually a year and a half ago, but we prolonged it for 6 months because I think my lawyer probably, well, it took that long to get the blood results back, the blood alcohol. It was 0.177, I think. It was up there. But, oh, shit. But, you know, there was no chance that he was going to be able to get it, you know, dismissed. But it turns out my last company, not Walmart, Save Money, Live Better, but the company before that, apparently they can maybe pull some strings and maybe get it removed. That's what he said. Because the boss's wife, and the boss's son are all cool with me coming back. I don't know like exactly what they said, but and the safety guy, you know, he's all, I'd love to have you back, blah, blah, blah. So they want me back, you know, and that's what he said when he called me. He's all, you know, blah, blah, blah. But that's not necessarily, you know, get me this and get me that and have it delivered in a baseball bat. And so I've got some homework to do on my end, and so does he. And apparently they'll call, you know, their buddy Guido. No, not that Guido. He's worthless. Other than, you know, modeling, you know, walking around in the sun and flexing his deformed muscles in his Speedo, that guy ain't good for shit. And being a loving and husband, a protector and provider, and plugging a baby up in Mrs. Butthead. I wonder if she's got a belly on her yet. I haven't checked her in a long time. I usually only check if she changes her circle feed. If she has it in a long time, but she might be posting pictures. Thanksgiving's coming up. Maybe I'll wait till the holidays pass and see if she posts something that she's thankful for. Her new family. A picture of her, you know, with a basketball that she ate. And there's the weed. I did that. Fucking douchebag. Ma, I met a girl. She's gonna give you grandbaby. Yep. And he probably does a lot love and adore her because, like I said, you know, I talk shit and I mean it, but I also mean the good things that I say. And I'm not gonna sit here and don't worry. What was your name again? Kaydee-Boo. He mentions me and then he talks about Mrs. Butthead for 15 fucking minutes. But she's probably like, you know, and, you know, because I think she knows. You know, she's up there in age and shit, and she's like, you know, I mean, the Gweed is her second place, you know. So I guess if she's pregnant, then, it's like she's conceited and conceived or whatever, it's like, oh, okay. Well, congratulations. I'd hate to be that baby. But he's born. He's like, eh. And then it gets like this gruffy voice. He's like, oh my God, you two are my parents? Fuck. Anyway. Isn't there a baby like that? I'm picturing a baby like with a 5 o'clock shadow smoking a cigar. I don't know where he learned this. But anyway, so and like I said, I want to get my my CDL back as soon as I can, so it's just on record. You know what I mean? It's like I've got it. I'm ready to rock and roll. And I don't know if they're just going to give it to me or if I have to test out. Which means I'm going to probably have to go through a school. I'll ask the question, but, they won't just test me out because, number one, they want money. And then, unless you could prove, I guess, maybe you had a CDL. I mean, it's worth asking, but they're going to do it just because they want their money. And then secondly, every schmuck is going to be like, oh yeah, and I've been driving for years, but so I get that. So it's like, it's not safe. You have to, But, if I get a copy of my driving record and say, see, it was revoked. And then, I don't know. It's worth a shot. But, yeah, so that's that. So you're probably thinking, so what? You're going to drive back over the road? Kaydee-Boo. All I want for Christmas is you in my arms. So, and then I've got, the extra, equipment operator stuff and all that. And, oh, yeah. It's funny, yesterday, we scraped out, I'll skip the details on, what we do and what we do at the end of the day and whatnot. But I always figured we should do this, and I should have spoke up and suggested, but I didn't. Just figured, but, whatever. I mean, I'm not afraid to speak my mind and offer ideas. Good, bad, or otherwise, I mean, it is what it is. I'm not, shy or... There's no, ego, right? Like, most dudes... their fucking egos are a fucking joke, and I see right through that shit. Like a grown ass fucking man, like in his 50s, and it's like I catch things, and I'll skip the details, but it's like you're just fucking nah, I don't have an ego, I self-deprecate. I mean, I'm not gonna let you disrespect me or anything, but. But like I said, there's a fine line, on how to treat people and talk to people. And, a lot of it, sometimes you just have a knack for it. A lot of it comes through experience, but, you want to position yourself for the win, basically. And, you want to maintain the high ground. And there's a way to do that, you know. So you need to like protect yourself, you know, so that people can't. Oh man, I'm trying to think of an example. Um, like the other day, this guy, I'm gonna digress real quick. Um, I said, you know, I was driving the water truck, and I'm all water truck, you know, coming in the cone because you announce what you're doing. And the loader operator, you know, who I know fairly well, he's all, come on in, super dude. You know, and I, you know, so drove in, and he goes, yeah, you go, boy. And he said it like that, like hostile. So what I immediately entered my mind was, I need you to change your tone when you talk at me like that. But instead, because that's a little hostile, I said, did you just call me boy? So it's a little bit less aggressive, right? And he's all, that's what you are, right? You're a young man. So he's like, you know, he's backpedaling. And I said, well, yeah, compared to you. And then he said, it's just a name, you know, no need to get all. And I kind of didn't really hear him. And I just left it at that, right? Because, you know, like I said, where everybody sometimes gets a little ripping on each other. And sometimes you know, you get a little close, you know, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's all, yes, you know, hey, buddy, yes, sir, this, that, and the other, you know, it's everybody's, you know, so I just left it at that, right, you know. But that's kind of like an example of when you need to step up, because that's how I said that, you know. My initial thought was, I need you to change your tone when you talk at me. But instead I said, did you just call me boy? You know, so it's like, it's the same, you know, and like I said, he backpedaled. He actually came up and apologized. He said, hey, I didn't mean to call you boy. And it's like, and again, I'm like, yeah, you did. Otherwise, you wouldn't have said it. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but you know what I mean? So, um, so it's all in the tone, because if I would have said, I need you to change your tone, then he could have came back and said, or what? And then I would have had to say something like, what do you mean, or what? Don't pass that buck on me. I guess we'll just keep stepping it up, or what? You know, just whatever, you know. You kind of want to position yourself in a way. And I just, like I said, I could have said this, or I could have said that. But instead, I said that. I said the less direct, aggressive response. And he backpedaled. Not only that, but he came up and apologized. You know, and it wasn't like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, he's just like, hey, I didn't mean to, you know what I mean? It's just kind of a, oh, by the way, you know, and that's just how that game works. And that just comes with life. What the hell was I talking about? Oh, so yeah, I'm not afraid to say something stupid, you know, and most, you know, dudes, you know, males of the human species are, you know, they want the world to know that they're a competent man. I don't give a fuck what you think about me. So you're gonna make your own decisions regardless of what I say or how I present myself. It's basically all in what you do. But talk is cheap. And so's demeanor, you know what I mean? You can exude, you know, I mean, you could be the Gweed, for crying out loud, you know, glistening in the sun, you know, with aviator shades. And then you smile, and it's like, what a fucking dork. That's not a Chad. But anyway. You should see this. It's a picture. He's just like, anyway, that's just a stupid example. I mean, whatever. But so, yeah, you know. But Anyway, so we clean out the shit, and it froze overnight. You know, the dirt's still kind of wet. And I was in the conics, you know, I don't know, doing something, and I hear this, and I casually, you know, walk out like, gee, what the hell was that? And I see my coworker guy running to the control panel to shut it off, and then I see this, you know, brick, you know, the size of a park bench come over the second belt. I'm like, oh shit. I see why he's running. Because he didn't want that to, you know, go through the machine. And he shut it off and got a ladder and got up there and broke it up and threw it out, you know. But I just thought it was kind of funny. Just one of those little moments. Anyway. Hilarious, huh? Well, I thought it was funny. We should probably start from now on when we script that, get rid of the dirt. Which is, and again, like I said, why didn't I speak up? I don't know. I just sort of figured, meh, whatever. It could freeze, but it's not, like I said, and it'll just, you know, we'll get rid of it, and that's exactly what we had to do. But from now on, you know, just, okay, now we don't have to do that. You know, one of those things, I don't know. Anyway, oh, sweet, sweet Kaydee-Boo. How I yearn for you. Your softness, your warmth, your touch, your smooth panty butt. Put your butt on me. Good morning, girl. Yeah. You know, as I'm laying here holding you in my arms, I think, you know, she's no pillow. She's a living, breathing human being. I have to share my bed and my life with her. Sometimes I'm tempted to send her back to the Windy City. And then the sun comes up and you put your butt on me, and it's like, let's give it a little bit more time. All right. Well, thinking of you. Happy Thanksgiving. Hey, you got a man yet? God, I said all that dumb shit. Meh. Whatever, bitch.